Hey, what is up, y'all? It's your favorite web-footed animal Dak, also known as the SJSU Duck, and welcome to episode 3 of the Duck Pond, a series where I'll be going over the biggest news in the world of Spartan Athletics in the last week. Make sure you hit that like button and share this video with fellow Spartan fans in order to keep this series afloat, as my last video just reached 100 views, so it would be nice if we can reach that milestone yet again in this video. Thanks for your support, and hopefully you enjoyed my future content. First and foremost, I'd like to address the background change because, of course, this is completely different than how I usually look in my previous episodes. Of course, I moved back onto campus this week, so I apologize in advance if you hear a lot of background noise or if the audio just doesn't sound the same as it usually is. I would also like to say welcome back to every single person of Spartan Nation that is moving back onto campus, and I hope you stay safe. But in the first week back from winter break, a lot more news has hit Spartan Nation. And before I get into that, let's go over the in-season sports before going over the off-season drama. Firstly, we are going to lace up and head over to the courts as our men's basketball team looked to collect their first in-conference win of the season. I uploaded the previous video just hours prior to them taking the court in Las Vegas, so let's take a look at how the game panned out. Entering the game, I was full of optimism that this was the game we turned it around, as we fought a solid Wyoming team until the very end days prior. But as the on-court action unfolded, my hopes and dreams were quickly shot down. The Rebels played very well throughout the first 30 or so minutes, as although the Spartans were keeping pace, they maintained a steady double-digit lead. Their lead grew to 16 points with 13 minutes left in the game, and I felt like their lead would just continue to blossom as the previous matchup in San Jose turned out. But with just 3 minutes left in the game, the Spartans went on an 8-0 run for the next 2 minutes to slice the deficit to just 4. With everybody in the Thomas and Mack Center on the edge of their seats, both teams traded free throws with 20 seconds left on the clock. Unfortunately for us, games are only 40 minutes long, as it seems like there was just too much to overcome with so little time left on the clock. UNLV ended up going 4 for 4 from the charity stripe as they held us off and won 70-62. The Rebels rode the hot hand of Bryce Hamilton, who dropped 30 points and 9 rebounds in a stellar performance. Meanwhile, the Spartans were led by Trey Anderson, who scored 19 points and collected 9 rebounds, along with a decent 17-7 line by Omari Moore. Although we didn't get the result we wanted as the buzzer sounded, Spartan fans throughout the country were quick to applaud the fight in this team. Although this game was chalked down as an L in the record books, it honestly felt like a W seeing what this team was capable of. This would be tested 3 days later as the Spartans hosted the Falcons of the Air Force Academy at the event center. Since a large population of students were allowed to move back onto campus this week, the attendance numbers were much bigger than how it was in the last few games. Hopefully we can keep it up. Anyway, plenty of signs were pointing to this game as our first Mountain West W of the season, and throughout the evening, it felt very much like it. Going into the break, we only trailed by 3 as we shot efficiently from the field. This energy in the building was nice as it finally felt like we had an actual home court advantage for once this season. This would prove important as although Air Force got off to a quick start in the second half, the Spartans willed themselves back into the game as they kept pace with the Falcons until late. After Omari Moore's and one play with less than 2 minutes left that sent the event center crowd ablaze, Air Force's 11-point lead was just sliced down to 3. With the crowd making noise and all the momentum on San Jose State's side, Carter Murphy and AJ Walker of Air Force drained 2 heavily contested threes in the final minute to put a dagger through Spartan Nation's hearts. Air Force flew away with the bread 63-53 as 3 players on their roster scored double digits. Unfortunately for us, we had an off shooting night as Omari Moore quite literally carried with a 20-point, 8-rebound game, being the only Spartan to score double digits. Air Force's clutch baskets were our only downfall, as San Jose State shot 1 for 11 in the second half from beyond the arc. I don't know about you, but in my eyes, that seems very uncharacteristic from the Spartan squad. But the past is the past, and we headed down to Albuquerque on Friday in order to face off against fellow bottom feeders, New Mexico. The Spartans and the Rebels are nearly identical as they both only had 7 wins on the season and have not yet won a conference game on that year. Unlike the Spartans, the Lobos have challenged some of the top teams in the nation, as Boise State, Colorado State, Wyoming, and Fresno State all only won by single digits in their matchups versus New Mexico. Despite what their record says, they are no pushover, as San Jose expected to head into a dogfight. Well, that's what we expected, but the game was far from it. New Mexico jumped out of the gates with a 9-0 run and never looked back as the Spartans headed into halftime down by 11. The closest we came throughout the rest of the game was 8 points as the Lobos of New Mexico mauled us in Albuquerque, 86-70. 4 players, specifically Omari Moore, Trey Anderson, Myron Amy, and scoring leader Sean Robinson, were in double figures for the Spartans. This feat would be great in any other game, but New Mexico managed to one-up us as they had 5 players in double digits. They were led by a 23-point performance by Jamal Mashburn Jr., as they used a strong offensive performance to push them across the finish line. In all honesty, we didn't play too terribly considering the fact that we reached the 70-point mark for only the 7th time this season, but the fact that we gave up 86 points to New Mexico is absolutely absurd. This loss struck us down to last place in the Mountain West, as we are now the lone team in the conference without a league W. Spartan fans were understandably angered as social media was just an absolute storm, but I hope that we can use this game as motivation on this Tuesday as our rivals from the Valley come up to play the second game of the home and away series. Hopefully I see y'all there. Threading the needle to the other Spartan basketball team, we'll be going over the women's squad as they look to end their struggles as well. Last episode, I ended on their defeat against UNLV at home, which successfully sent us on a 10-game slide. That same Saturday, the ladies traveled up to Colorado to face off against the Lady Falcons of Air Force. This game was absolutely abysmal to watch, as in the first half, we only scored 16 total points. Although our opponents were also not having the best shooting night, we entered the half fighting off a 15-point deficit. The second half was much better, as not only did we shoot more efficiently, but we also outscored Air Force 30-27. Unfortunately, that rough first half was just too much to overcome, as the Falcons grabbed the bread with their talons, winning 58-46. Ella Ojayer was the only Spartan to finish in double figures, as she collected 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Riley Snyder and Sierra Winters combined for 31 points to lead Air Force across the finish line. One positive to take away from this game is that the ladies made adjustments at halftime to play much better coming out of the break, which is a stark contrast compared to the past where the halftime break hurt us. But anyway, the most challenging feat was yet to come, as on Monday, they traveled down to Albuquerque to take on the conference leaders in New Mexico. The ladies kept it close until about 4 minutes left in the first quarter, as the Lady Lobos absolutely dominated the rest of the way. I don't even want to talk about the rest of the game, as this was just an absolute mauling. Sure, we stayed consistent, scoring about 15 points per quarter, but when the opposition is scoring 22 points per quarter, it simply just isn't enough. 57-87 was the final tally, as the Lady Lobos were led by 18 from Shaquelle Magruder. Just like the last couple of games, Ella Ojayer led the Spartans with 13, followed by Atiana Golden's 8. I think you can simply blame this performance on the fact that New Mexico is one of the top teams in the country, so I won't talk too much about how our ladies performed. The next matchup we had on our calendar, however, would be our biggest chance to end our 12-game slide, as we hosted the Lady Aggies of Utah State. Dressing only 7 players, our visitors from Logan would basically be in a track meet, as playing a basketball game with only 2 substitutes would definitely tire you out. Seeing this in pregame, I was confident that our ladies had the upper hand and that we would bag this W easily. Well, I couldn't be more wrong, as we headed into halftime down by 9. Now, this wasn't too bad considering that we were keeping pace with their ladies, but they had 7 available players, but I digress. We used a strong defensive third quarter to get back into the game, as in the early stages of the fourth, it finally looked like the Lady Aggies were tiring out. After finally taking the lead midway through the fourth and trading buckets down the stretch, San Jose State led by 4 with just 20 seconds remaining. All signs pointed to a Spartan win, but that wasn't how it went, as Kinley Falsiv of Utah State drained a crazy turnaround bank 3 with just 13 seconds left to go. In the inbound after a Utah State timeout, we turned the ball over after an errant pass was attempted in order to break their press, which resulted in the ball being in Kaylin Rondawa's hands. The Utah State leader drove to the basket and missed the turnaround J, but a very questionable foul was assessed against Ella Ojayer. With 0.6 seconds left on the clock, Rondawa drained the first free throw to tie the game. If she made the second free throw, the game would be over. If she missed the second, then the game would head into overtime. Spoiler alert, she missed. But by the grace of God, Lacey Hawthorne collected the offensive rebound and threw the ball in the direction of the hoop. As the buzzer sounded, the ball went through the net, and after a lengthy review by the officials which lasted about 5 minutes, the basket counted. 63-61 was the final score, as Utah State's 6 points in 13 seconds saw them snatch the bread away from the Spartans. Heartbreaking would be an understatement, as it felt like all of the hope in the arena was just sucked out right as that ball was in the air. I felt absolutely terrible for the ladies, as just like me, they looked ecstatic to pick up their first would-be win of the season. Ella Ojayer led the scoring yet again as she dropped 17 points, followed by Sydney Lewis's 16 and Megan Oberg's 11. Utah State was led by Adriana Quesada's 20 and Elise Stafford's 15. This night was painful, but the best thing we could do was look at the positives and turn to our game on Saturday against Boise State. Following the heartbreaking defeat, the ladies were eager to get back into action, as that heartbreaker just days prior surely lit a fire in the Spartan camp. Throughout this game, the ladies kept it close with a talented Broncos squad, as they only trailed 43-40 entering the final quarter. Trading shots along the way, it seemed like we were on a different type of juice, as we just kept answering their makes with baskets of our own. With 1 minute to go and Boise State clinging onto a 1-point lead, Ella Ojayer drained a layup, followed by an Atiana Golden steal. After being fouled, she headed to the free throw line and drilled both free throws. We had a 3-point lead with 29 seconds left, and we were in pole position to put this game to bed. But that's not how we do things here in San Jose, is it? Following the clutch free throws by Golden, we committed a costly foul that put Boise State in the bonus and on the free throw line. Fortunately for us, Boise State's Trista Hull missed both free throws. But unfortunately for us, Mary Kay Naro collected the offensive rebound and was fouled yet again. She split the free throws, only making the second, and with 2 missed free throws by Golden seconds later, Boise State had the ball, trailing 61-59. With 17 seconds left and with possession, the Broncos had another chance to shatter Spartan hearts for a second consecutive game. But the story doesn't always have to end the same way, does it? A shot attempt by Boise State was swatted away by Sydney Lewis with 4 seconds left, and chaos erupted on the court as both teams scrambled for the loose ball. Before anyone could collect the rock, the buzzer sounded, sending all in Spartan Nation into frenzy. And just like that, our 13-game losing streak was finally snapped as we finally collected our first Mountain West win of the season. 61-59 was the final tally as Atiana Galden led the scoring with 18. 3 other Spartans ended in double figures as the usual suspects of Ella Ojayer and Sydney Lewis performed great. The biggest shock of the game was Stephanie Torres, as she had 16 on the night. She played 29 minutes in her game back and made clutch basket after clutch basket. This one felt absolutely fantastic as I was just joyful to see our ladies get a well-deserved W after all they've been through. Hopefully we can use this win to trend upwards as we travel to Nevada this Wednesday. Bouncing over to gymnastics, this past Sunday, the ladies hosted the Hornets of Sacramento State in their first home dual meet of the season. I had no idea how scoring worked at all, but I can confidently say that San Jose State won by a comfortable margin. The highest finish by our visitors was a tied score in the beam, but other than that, the Lady Spartans dominated the finishing places. The Spartans won this meet 195-192 as they rode the backs of Jada Missouri, Jade Lopes, and Lauren McPherson, who finished in that order in terms of the all-around scores. Good job, ladies. They're back in action next Sunday as they head to UC Davis for their next meet. Somersaulting onto the track, our track team competed in the New Mexico meet this weekend. 7 Spartans set new PRs, continuing to show their improvement from previous performances. Roman Johnson set a new school record with a 6.66 time for the 60 meters. Congrats to him. Hopefully we can continue trending upwards as we travel back down to Albuquerque on February 11th to partake in another meet. Anyway, with baseball and softball not receiving any new updates within the last week, I also will wait until next episode until I do more digging. So, sprinting into the pools, I will be going over last week's tournament as this weekend's tournament is still taking place while I'm recording this episode. Our women's water polo team was in action 2 weekends ago in Santa Barbara as they competed in a 3-day weekend tournament. Hours after I uploaded my last episode, the ladies began day 1 against the 18th ranked hosts, UCSB. Getting off to a quick start, scoring within the first 40 seconds of getting underway, the Spartan ladies never took their foot off the gas as their offensive onslaught propelled them to a 15-7 W. 10 different Spartans were on the score sheet as our first and third quarter performances carried us to victory. Scylla David dropped 5 goals in a wonderful performance. This was the only game on that Friday as they had a doubleheader on their plate for day 2. To start off that Sunday, the ladies faced off against 21st ranked Cal Baptist and picked up from where they left off the day before. The final score read 18-9 as the Spartans remained dominant on the offensive side of the ball. 10 Spartans were on the score sheet yet again as a brilliant team performance saw them easily take the bread. Olga Deshalzy, Lucy Majewski, and Lauren Woole each had hat tricks to cap off an amazing day. Their next matchup, however, wasn't as lucky as they clashed against the talented 9th ranked UC San Diego squad. Both defenses remained stout as this was a low-scoring match, well, at least by SJSU standards, as the ladies led 7-6 after 3 quarters. But UCSD scored 3 unanswered in the final frame as they gave us our first and only L of the weekend. Scylla David's wonderful weekend continued as she collected a hat trick, and despite the upsetting result, the ladies would have to look forward to Day 3's matchups before concluding the eventful weekend. Day 3 was much better for the Spartans as their schedule wasn't as challenging as the previous 2 days. To get the day started, the Spartans faced off against Brown and took home the bread without too much difficulty. 13-6 was the result in our favor, with Olga Deshalzy scoring a hat trick and Elena Davey having a jaw-dropping 15-save performance. This helped us gain plenty of momentum heading into the final matchup of the weekend against Iona. The Spartans remained hot as they won comfortably 17-7 using a dominant first and third quarter to push us across the finish line. Riley Augerbeek was the star of the show as her 5-goal performance put us in pole position to finish the day strong. Olga Deshalzy had another hat trick to cap off a wonderful weekend. The key thing to remember is that in these 5 matches played, the Spartans never allowed double-digit goals in any game. That Spartan defense sure is something to take note of for the rest of the season. Due to her stellar performance that weekend, Scylla David, a freshman from Budapest, Hungary, earned the MPSF Women's Water Polo Newcomer of the Week award, as her 10-goal contribution was a big force in the Spartans earning a 4-1 record throughout the weekend. Congratulations to her. Due to our strong performances this weekend, our national ranking has also jumped up 4 places as we are now 12th in the CWPA rankings as of the 27th of January. And like I said earlier, this weekend's tournament will be covered in the next episode as they are currently in competition right now at the time of recording. Hopefully by that time I'll report to you all some good news. Stroking over to the golf courses, our men's golf team was back in action on the 24th as they headed to Westlake Village, California to take part in the Southwest Invitational. Junior transfer Kotaro Murata led the Spartans scoring a 222, a good enough score to place 31st in the field. We ended up finishing 10th in a 12-team field as our average individual score of 229.5 was not good enough to get a higher place. The team heads over to Waikoloa, Hawaii on the 3rd in order to participate in the Amer Ari Invitational. Putting it over to the tennis courts, I last talked about our women's tennis team taking part in the Fullerton Invitational down in SoCal last episode. So let's pick up right where we left off. Starting off with singles action, we faced off against Grand Canyon University of Arizona in 4 matches. We split the series with GCU as Alba Pedrero Galindo and Raquel Vallon Pereira picked up W's for the Spartans, while Alexandra Andreeva and Jovana Babic fell in 3. Over into the doubles action against Cal State Fullerton, we split yet again as we won 1 of 2 with the team of Alexandra Andreeva and Raquel Vallon Pereira winning 6-0. Anyway, this weekend, the ladies traveled back home in order to host Sacramento State in a dual matchup. Jovana Babic and Rosalinda Yuseva each went 2-0 on Saturday in order to help secure a 6-1 win for the Spartans. I don't know how tennis scoring works, so I'll just read the match notes from the official Spartan Athletics website. Babic and Yuseva clinched the doubles point for the Spartans in a 7-5 win. Babic won her singles match 6-1 and 6-0 to give SJSU the second point of the match. Alexandra Andreeva won in straight sets, 6-3 to 6-0 for the Spartans' third point of the match. Laura Marco Moss clinched the win for the SJSU with 6-3, 6-0, and a win at number 6 singles. Yuseva won in straight sets 6-1 to 6-4, and Alba Pedrero Galindo closed out the scoring for the Spartans, splitting the first 2 sets 1-6 to 6-3 before winning the third set tiebreaker 10-6. I got no idea what I just said, but good job, ladies. Anyways, the ladies head back down to Fullerton this Friday and then head to Northridge on Sunday in order to continue to compete. Keep it up, girls. With the volleyball team having no new developments around the camp and with beach volleyball beginning in a few weeks, I'll refrain from talking about them until the next episode. Instead, let's rally it over to our football team where we have some big news coming out of the Spartan camp. Starting off with some of the biggest news in the offseason, starting kicker Matt Mercurio updated his Twitter bio on the 26th at 9 p.m. from San Jose State football class of 2022 to grad transfer kicker. This news certainly confirmed the rumors of him entering the transfer portal that was broken on the SJSU 247 sports forums earlier this week. Wherever he decides to go, good luck to him as we are thankful for his contributions to Spartan football. This means that San Jose State's only kicker left on the roster is big-legged freshman kickoff specialist Taryn Shive. With plenty of time between now and spring ball, we shouldn't be shocked if they add another kicker to the roster, as rumors are circulating of possible transfers coming in, mainly Colton Thieker from Cal Poly. We'll see how the Spartans handle this situation, as this seemed rather unexpected. Personally, I'd give Taryn a shot at becoming the main leg for this team, but I would gladly welcome another transfer kicker with open arms. Elsewhere in football news, the class of 2022 gained another commit as 3-star linebacker Jordan Pollard chose the Spartans. Pollard is a 6'2", 210-pound linebacker from Faith Lutheran High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. In his film, he showcased skills such as his quickness off the ball and ability to shed run blockers in order to make tackles. He was also showcased on the offensive side of the ball as he played receiver for his team. He has great elusiveness and a surprising combination of speed and strength. One thing I will knock him for is his tendency to, lack of a better term, ankle bite, but everything else about him is pretty solid. I personally think it's highly likely that we'll see him primarily on the defensive side of the ball. I think he compares pretty closely to Justin Stearns as they are both very athletic, show upside in their coverage skills, and are both pretty quick and powerful. With an absolutely loaded linebacker room, I can't wait to see how they perform within the next couple of years. Do I think he'll start right away? I'd say no unless we allow him to play some special teams, but as of now, let's welcome Jordan to the Spartan family. And breathe. I finally caught you up to date with what has happened in the world of Spartan athletics in the last week. My sources for today's video were of course the wonderful Spartan community on 247 Sports and of course the SJSU Athletics website. If I missed out on something or if you would like to know more about something I brought up in today's episode, please leave a comment or DM me on any of the social media platforms I have listed in the description. This episode took about 4 hours of research, 1 hour of recording, and 1 hour of editing, so I would really appreciate it if you liked, commented on, and shared this video as well as hitting that subscribe button for future uploads. Stay blessed, everyone. This is Dak, also known as the SJSU Duck, signing off from the pond. See you in the next one. Spartan up and get that bread.